Good morning, everybody. Interesting day in the market yesterday. So let's take a look and see what we got going on with our major stock indices today. This morning, as we're heading into the market open, um, got to try to figure out what's going on because we had, in my opinion, what was a little bit of a pause yesterday, or pretty much nothing was trading for me in the morning. I don't know how it was for you, but for me, it's just nothing, no movement whatsoever. And then as we got later on into the afternoon towards the close, then we got a little bit of a bounce up. But for the most part, the day was just flat, dead for me. Um, so let's kind of get an idea what's going on because I know we're getting close to the um, top of the trade winds on a lot of our majors stocks, and so maybe we might be getting a little bit of a pause here as it decides which way it's going to go, if it's going to catch that wind and float higher or sink below and be forced down even lower. So let's take a look at that and see what we got, okay? Alright, so we got to go. First up, as always, as our new always, is the S&P 500. And the S&P 500, like I said, got down here at 5,783. Got our trade winds coming up to help support, and we got this support here, right? So we got caught up in here, but we're holding on for a little bit. We got our overhead resistance coming down at 8 and 9 and their 20 SMA. So what we need to see what happens, what's going to happen actually, or what is to become of this move is, are we going to get caught up in here in this overhead resistance and sell off? I'd just be careful in this area. I don't think the selling is over. So wait and see what happens if we get some consolidation and let them turn this boat around and head it back up, right? If we get a fast move back up, I would be a little bit nervous about that, especially since if you get a further view out on the yearly chart, you can see we're at the top of, almost at the top of our mountain here, and we're starting to roll over, right? We got our two peaks up here, so we may be heading back down on the back side of the mountain right now. I'm gonna be wary of this area right now while we're looking for some support. We got our trade winds are starting to roll over and go flat, so that could be our indication of where we're slowing down or we're pausing here in this area. Today's ATR on the S&P is 87.18. So let's see if that changes too. So yeah, keep an eye on this area right here. We're going to try to maintain this area for some support and then come back up and retest. If it doesn't stay support and we fall off, then look out below on the S&P 500. Next up is Bitcoin. And Bitcoin did a little head fake on us. It pumped up, but 20-day came down and slapped it. Said, "Get back, Jack. What do you think you're doing right about now?" So keep an eye on our Bitcoin. Our Bitcoin is still showing some type of weakness, but like you said, it can be tricky. We got that. We dropped down, and then we tried to push up yesterday. We got a little bit of a push. Ran into this resistance here, plus the 20-day coming down. So we'll see what happens with this one. It's another one that's getting caught by our trade wind. So this is going to be a little bit of an area here where we're going to have to kind of sit in it for a minute and see what happens. Which is, I think, where we're getting our slowdown right now, is as we get down into here, because if we get below these trade winds, we're most likely going to continue to sell off. So, and especially if they go flat and start to roll over along with our, because we're on, as you can see, we're on the back side of the mountain on this one too, on Bitcoin. So, how far down the mountain we have to head back down before we get to the valley to head back up the next mountain, we'll see. But currently it looks like we're rolling over and heading down the mountain on Bitcoin. Next up is oil. And oil continues to try to hold on in this area, but look, I think oil maybe is going to continue to go lower. Honestly, I don't know. It depends on what the powers that be decide about oil. I know the last thing I heard, which hasn't changed, was we're going to drill and we're going to get these our energy prices lower. So right, is trying to find some support here at 68, but we'll see what happens as these trade winds and the moving averages roll over. As you can see, it's respecting this 8. So right now, the 8 and 9 is respecting along with the 20-day. So we'll see what happens when these guys catch up, if we're going to continue to head lower. All right, next up is the E-mini S&P 500. And also in the trade winds, which is why a lot of this stuff probably had a nice slow day yesterday, because it's, getting caught by these winds and is looking to see if it's going to be a support before head back higher, or if it's going to be a support, temporary support before the fall through the clouds down into the heading back to ground zero. Once we get the trade winds go flat and start to roll over, if our stock gets between them or gets underneath and tries to come back up, that wind is probably going to force it back down even lower. So be careful with that one. And we may be at the backside of the mountain on the S&P also. So keep an eye on that. And once we find where the valley floor is, and look forward to, buying up as much as you can to catch that wave back up, or that climb back up. Get all your supplies down here so you can head back up the next mountain. Alright, next up is Ethereum. And Ethereum looks like it's at the bottom of its mountain, but we'll see. It's down. Ethereum has given up quite a bit, and it's in a down market, so keep an eye on Ethereum, see what it wants to do. If it wants to go even lower, I'm not sure how high it climbed. Let's see if we can take a look at that on Ethereum. They do 5 years on that one. So yeah, Ethereum is most likely on the backside of its mountain. Ethereum it doesn't. In the beginning, it was like way up here, but now it's kind of petering off. I don't know if Ethereum is the darling that it once was. So, but anyway, it is on the backside of the mountain and heading lower, coming down here to the valley. So keep an eye on that. It may be pausing right in here to head up. That should be a support area in here somewhere. But that remains to be seen as the Bitcoin continues to sell off. Alright, so on the larger chart of Ethereum, we may have some support in this area here. Quite a few touches there. So we're unclear, so we'll make it a 2 and call it a support area on Ethereum. Alright, let's get back out of here, head back to our 6 months. We're doing 6 months in a day today because we're trying to get a larger view of our moves. And next up is gold. And gold still struggling over here. I thought for sure it was ready to run, but then it ran into some trouble and still paused in this area here at about 2,937. Still running into some trouble there. Right there at the top of that bar there. This bar right here. Right there. Alright, so it looked like in the pre-market it wants to come down and open up down a little bit lower. We'll see what happens. Currently, gold is showing some indecision and showing like it wants some weakness. So we have to see what happens. I'm not quite sure which way they want to take gold. I would think gold prices probably continue to head higher as we head towards uncertainty throughout the world. So we'll see what happens with that. Maybe we'll be singing Kumbaya in the next couple of months and gold prices will calm down and start heading back down again. All right, next up is natural gas, and natural gas, of course, is going higher, trying to retest that previous high. Got some movement from our 8, 9, and our 20 SMAs, uh, and they're pushing higher. So keep an eye on that. Um, it's got the support coming underneath to help it, so look for um, a possible push through or a possible rejection, but more of a consolidation and then a push higher on this one. Because natural gas continues to push higher, and natural gas is looking pretty good right now. So I would proceed with caution. Make sure you got your stops in there so you can catch unless you're long it, and then you know, do what you got to do. But natural gas looking bullish right now. Next up is the Nasdaq, and the Nasdaq trapped down in the trade winds, and is looking a lot for worse in our trade winds compared to the others. In fact, we've got a nice little pause in here, so we have to see if we can get some consolidation, some slowdown, and some rollover. We haven't closed below it, and our moving averages haven't rolled over and started forcing down on it. So we're still not in a totally bad position, but we do need to be cautious in this area, and we might need to wait it out, but and see what happens in here. We're back in this, basically in this range, as you can see back here where we had some support. So we'll see what happens with that, but currently is have to watch out with the Nasdaq and see what happens. Our MACD is still pointing straight down, so currently it looks like it wants to continue to sell off. So we'll see what happens with this, but if we get below these trade winds, look out below. But yeah, I definitely would have some patience into the end of this week. Some of our other stocks might be moving. You might be able to play some daily trades or whatever, but for the most part, be careful with the markets right now. Next up is silver, and silver continue to push higher. Trying to find some support around $33, and it looks like it's still bullish on silver. So keep an eye on that, and if you're in it already, good for you. Next up is the Dow, and the Dow is heading down into the trade winds as well. Got that same pause as everything else. You see they keep trying to push it down, but they keep catching it right in here. So our trade winds are acting as some support currently with a lot of our majors, but we have to see what happens as we continue to push on, as our daily bars continue to come in and give us that registration. All right. Currently MACD is heading straight down on the Dow still, so be careful in here. There's still some signs of weakness. Okay, so our trade winds are starting to flatten out as well, so that might be another indication. Okay, not like here when it just kept going straight up for some support. Here it's starting to go flat and roll over. All right, but we're still kind of early into these wind patterns. So we got that slight overhead wind coming down, but our the bulk of our storm is down here, and it's trying to support and give us that wind beneath our wings to help lift us, but we don't know exactly what's going to happen in here. So be careful. It may have some pockets in here where it can just fall through and head down below. So next up is corn, and corn sitting on the top of our trade winds, Got some a little bit of a consolidation here. Got some dojis popped up, so there's some indecision still. They're not quite sure what they want to do with it. So we'll see what happens. But our trade winds are flat. So as we stretch out and get some more time here, we'll see if our weakness continues to show, and if we fall through, look out below. Next up is going to be our last but not least, and that's the Russell. That's our Russell right now, and Russell is trying to push up along with some of the other ones, so it may have found its bottom. We'll see what happens. It's below the trade winds. Trade winds haven't completely started rolling over to act as resistance. They're still a little flat, so Russell has to really work pretty hard to get back up and get through there. And chances are we're going to push up and sell off in the Russell, but we'll see what happens with that also. Right now, it's MACD is still pointing straight down, trying to get a little curvature in it. So we have to see. Maybe we'll get a little bit of a consolidation in here, and then maybe go back and attack these trade winds. We'll see what happens with that. But currently, the Russell is in a down market. Got an overhead resistance of the milder winds coming down. We got the 20-day. I'll call it a breeze. We got this nice breeze rolling over, but the main thunderstorm is overhead, so watch out with the Russell. Alright, that's all I got this morning. But yeah, just tread lightly into the end of the week. If you're going to put something on, you might want to peep it out and then make sure it's made its mind which direction it's going to head. But for the most part, we look like we got some weakness in the overall market, and not quite sure if it's going to be able to pull itself out of it. It just looks right now, everything just looks like it's just really slowing down. Not much happening. I heard on, I'm not sure what I was listening to yesterday, but they said that this is kind of normal for February into March, that we get these little slowdowns or these little pullbacks. So if that's true or not, and okay, maybe this is just a normal occurrence, and it too shall pass. Maybe you might be having a little bit of insecurities out there right now, because we're not sure what direction the country is going to be heading here in the next few months with the all the things that are coming up with these things with Canada, Mexico, China, these trade type deals. If the money's not flowing, then the market is not growing. Okay, so keep an eye on all those things also when you're making your decisions. But that's all I got for this morning. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and be careful out there. These markets are crazy.